In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the colors we find in foods and what can affect them. So the molecules that give materials color are called pigments, and we're going to be looking at the pigments that can color our food today. So there are artificial and natural pigments. You've probably known these as artificial food coloring and natural food coloring. And we're going to address artificial food coloring just a little bit. In the United States, the food colorings that are allowed to be added to food are called food color additives. And the FDA has only approved 9 of those dyes or pigments. So all the different colors that you see in some of our foods, especially like cereals, although some cereal companies have gone to natural food coloring, these come from a combination of different colors, of different molecules. We're going to be looking in this video at natural pigments, and there are a variety of different types of natural pigments. We're going to be looking at the most common ones. And like I was talking about before, some of the food companies are looking into substituting their previously used artificial food colorings for natural food coloring. So this is a graphic that General Mills put out when they switched their tricks to natural food colorings, and so it shows where those food extracts came from. So our first type of food pigment is a group of molecules called the chlorophylls. You've probably heard of these. They have a green color, and they're found in green vegetables such as peas, spinach, and broccoli. And you may have noticed when you've cooked these vegetables that the color diminishes, it becomes a little grayer the longer you cook them and when they're cooked in acidic conditions. So they become a little bit drab, like I have here in the broccoli. And because of this, it's nice to have food that has a nice bright color to it. That often is an indication of higher nutritional value. So I'm going to be giving you some tips for cooking vegetables and fruits that have these different types of pigments in them. So for your green vegetables, one way we can prevent that color diminishing is to cook at a higher temperature for a more quick time frame. Also, pre-cook these vegetables before you add them to acidic foods. One thing that I do when I make a tomato soup is if I want to add, say, green beans, I will steam those green beans real quickly in the microwave and then add them at the last minute, because tomatoes are a very acidic food. So I'll add those at the very last minute, and that will keep their color a little bit brighter. And then if you want to make a side dish with a nice bright lemon flavor to it, I recommend using lemon zest instead of lemon juice. You still get that lemony flavor, but because lemon zest is solid, it won't leach out the acidity that lemon juice will to make that color more drab. Carotenoids are yellow and orange in color. They're found in yellow and orange vegetables and fruits such as pumpkins, carrots, sweet potatoes, yellow peppers. And these are very stable molecules. They're not really affected much by cooking conditions. So carrots, whether they're overcooked or not, they keep that nice yellow orange color because those carotenoids are actually pretty stable. The last type of pigment that we're going to talk about are anthocyanins, which are a group of molecules that are found in red and purple fruits and vegetables. I have a picture here of red cabbage because anthocyanins are really the most fun group of pigments when it comes to their color. So red cabbage, you can do all sorts of interesting things to change their color. So one thing that you may have noticed if you've cooked with red cabbage is that color is very soluble in water. So the molecules will right away leach out into the water and color any sort of boiling water that you're using. If you've ever eaten borscht soup, you know that it has a very vibrant color, and some cultures really love that color, so they will try to increase that color in a few ways that we'll talk about. So whenever you cook these fruits and vegetables in water, it will leach out into the water because it dissolves very easily in water. Also, anthocyanins, oh, sorry about that typo, that should be cyanins. They're very sensitive to pH in a very cool way. So if you make red cabbage juice and you put it in environments of different pHs, you see a beautiful variety of colors. So this is a picture of red cabbage juice that has different pHs. So we can see on the acidic end of things with a pH of 2, it's very, it's almost red. And at the higher end of pHs in basic, so this is in acidic conditions, and at basic conditions we have almost this green color. And in neutral conditions, it's a blue. So we can actually use red cabbage juice as a pH indicator. So you can make your own pH indicator at home by just boiling red cabbage in water and straining it. So when we're cooking with vegetables that have anthocyanins, if you want a product, a food with a nice bright pink color, use some more acid. A lot of cultures like that color, so they use apple cider vinegar or lemon to get that nice bright pink color, and then that nice acidic flavor as well. If you chop up your vegetables, whether it be beets or red cabbage, much smaller, you're going to get more color in that cooking juice. And if you want to keep more color in the vegetable itself, use very little water. But if you want lots of color in, say, a soup, you can chop those vegetables much smaller. So all of these colors are quite beautiful, and we can actually make our own natural food color at home if you want to use that instead of artificial food colors like you buy in the store. If you want to make, oh, say, frosting or cookies, you can make your own food color. So what you do is you take your food of choice, and we'll talk about appropriate choices in a little bit, and you just cook it down in a little bit of water, and you puree that. Then you drain it, and you can store it in the fridge for a couple weeks. So say you wanted a pink food dye. If you wanted pink, you would use beets. If you wanted yellow, you would use turmeric. And this is a root that is used very commonly in Indian foods and Ethiopian foods. In America, we most often see it as a powder in the spices aisle, but it is actually a root that is similar to ginger. For a green dye, spinach works really well. And for purple, I recommend using blueberries. So you're going to next be watching a video that concentrates more on the artificial dyes and what happens to those artificial dyes if you break them down using bleach.